Hello and welcome. Today I want to go over the LM10 from Lumintop. I got this in copper. This shows a titanium in the picture, but it's a copper model. I got this with the SST20 4000 Kelvin temperature rating emitters, high CRI. This is what we get in the box here. We've got a battery insert diagram, one manual, a stainless steel pocket clip with screws, and we have some spare O-rings. And then we also have the LM10 here sealed up. I also bought a turbo glow to insert into the head here, and a battery since this doesn't come with a battery. This is an 18650 3000 milliamp hour battery. It's a Samsung 30Q, and it's also flat top. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and put everything together and open this up. Wow, this is a nice looking light. Definitely something to be showing off to people. It's nice and shiny. The patina is going to look pretty nice. We have tritium slots here. Tritium slots in the tail here. And the emitter looks really beautiful. There are many options and interesting things about this light I could talk about, but I want to hit up upon some of the more high points in my opinion. And some of those being is that it uses the anduril UI system, which is a very complex system. It offers battery check options, temperature, thermal regulation, checking options, and customization options, different types of ramping options from step ramp to a smooth ramp, different kind of blinky options, a easy mode or a muggle mode is what they call it, and then it also offers a sort of lockout mode with a momentary on also. So that's important to note about the LM10. Basically, it's the same software inside as the FW3A and the FW3T or the FW3C, whichever one you want to compare it to. The hardware is also an FET +7+1. I'm not exactly sure what that means because I'm not an expert on flashlight drivers and whatnot. I'm slowly getting into that, but basically it's probably the same hardware as the FW3A. What's interesting to know about this light here is the weight. This thing is definitely over a pound because it's full copper plus stainless steel pocket clip here. You can change this out for a titanium one, and I don't know if they offer a copper one. I doubt it, but you can probably find that online. The turbo glow gasket does fit inside here, but it's a little bit hard to put in versus the FW3A in my opinion. It could be just my particular gasket or my particular light. I don't know what it is, to be honest, but it was hard enough to get into the head there. This does have an AR coated lens, glass lens, which is nice. It does have a car glow optic as well, as you can see earlier. And basically, that's pretty much the highlights of the light itself. We're shooting at an aperture of 7.1, 24 frames per second. ISO is 2500 at a temperature balance of 5500 Kelvin on a Panasonic GH2. I'm going to do the basic mode of operations, beginning with the lowest mode here on ramp. We're in the smooth ramping of the anduril UI system. Raising it up. We're about 10 inches off the table. Double click. We're in turbo. Double click. We're back down from turbo. Lowering the light back down. And clicking off. And as you can see, the turbo glow is lava red for this one. And it does maintain its glow for a while, so it looks pretty decent on here. Okay, we're back outside in the backyard, filming at an aperture of 3.5, 24 frames per second at a shutter speed of 50. ISO is 2500 with a temperature rating of 5500 Kelvin on a Panasonic GH2. We have the LM10 in copper on the left and the FW3T in the right hand for comparison. Let's start with the Lumintop. We're in step mode right now. I'm going to go step up to the default max ceiling, as they call it. Let's make sure it's the max. So this is about 15 to 20 feet in front of us. This is the SST20 emitter and 4,000 Kelvin temperature. And let's step up the FW3T, the Nichia 219C on the right. So you can kind of see a little bit of a color difference. And there's a rock out in the far distance up there. You can kind of see on the right a little bit. We're going to double click and get the turbo modes of each going. First we'll do the copper. And you can see the rock, that's about 35 feet away. And then to the left of the rock is the edge of the property. Okay, let's double click the FW3T. So there's turbo on the titanium on the right and turbo on the copper on the left. Now we're just on the turbo of the FW3T. The Nichia 219C emitters and 4,000 Kelvin temperature rating. Okay, let's turn that off. The FW3T is already pretty hot. The copper is semi-hot. I'm gonna put this on mode 3 and walk to the edge of the property here. This is what it looks like when you're using the copper. I can see a good 20 to 30 feet in front of me. You may not be able to see that on the camera, but it's also a little wet out here, so I'm avoiding all the puddles and whatnot. There's the tree that we used for a reference and the rock. That's going to be about 35 feet out. And I'm approaching the edge of the property here. The property is going to be about 55 to 60 feet out. About 55 feet out. I'm going to step this down to the lowest mode here. Okay, this is the lowest mode. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 in total on the steps. This is on the high point of the ceiling. And then we double click to get turbo, which is super bright. Turn that off. And turn this back on to a usable mode here. I think number 6 is a decent mode for carrying around and illuminating. Let's go back onto turbo for a minute. Now we're going to walk back, keep it on turbo. It should be stepping down. It's fairly cold out here. It's about 40 something degrees in a cold January night. So we got both lights in my hands. I got my brother out here. He's got the thermal scope with him. We're trying something a little bit different here. The copper in my hand's still kind of hot. The titanium's cooled off a little bit more since I haven't used it in a minute or two. But we're going to run a temperature test, see how fast they heat up. And we'll go ahead and insert that footage here overlaying the camera footage. So we're going to start these on right now on their low modes respectively. And I'm going to step them up to the high ceiling part of their default UI. Okay. This is the high modes on each. And now we're going to do double click turbo modes. This hand here, my right hand is the FW3T in titanium, and the left hand over here is going to be the copper. So I kind of split that up a little bit. And I can already feel them heating up. And the thermal regulation should be kicking in right about now, dropping the lumens lower. I can see that in the 3T already. So I'm going to turn off the 3T and turn off the copper, and then we can see which one's pretty hot right now. Okay, we're back shooting a thermal test in the kitchen. We have the lights on the very lowest modes right now in step mode. We're shooting at an aperture of 5.6 with a frames per second at 24 frames per second at a shutter speed of 50. ISO is going to be a little bit different for this take at 160. We have a temperature balance at 5,500 on a Panasonic GH2. We're going to step these up to the highest modes on the ceiling for their step modes. And I'm getting thermal on it, and then we're gonna run it turbo real quick. And we should be seeing it on a thermal scope heating up, whichever one heats up fastest. The copper's on the left and the 3T's on the right. Okay, let's go ahead and take that off turbo mode. All right, we're filming at 5.6 aperture, 24 frames per second, 50 shutter speed, 160 ISO, 5,500 temperature rating. We're just doing a little bit of fun test with the lightning mode test. We have the Lumintop LM10 on the left, and we have the FW3T on the right. So this is a lightning show going on in one of the blinky modes. Some final thoughts to wrap this video up. Overall, I really like this light. I like the way it looks, the way it feels. It's a beautiful looking light. I almost want to keep it from getting a patina because the shiny version of the copper is just really eye-catching to me. I do enjoy the tritium slots here in the end and in the tail cap. I do like my pocket clip. It's got a good retention to it. A very, very strong retention, in fact. I like the crenulations on the top. I like having my turbo glow gaskets in this light. And the metal, or the copper shielding of the rubber boot is also a bonus to me. I do like my metal type tail caps very much in terms of a clicky or an E-switch. I'm slowly getting on board with the E-switch type of lights. They're not my preferred ones. I prefer McClicky type switches, but overall it's still a really great light, and it does what I need it to do. The one real big negative thing about this, other than the weight, which is a given that's a copper light, is that it's very finicky and fidgety when it comes to screwing on the head and making proper contact. I suppose it has something to do with the battery tube connector inside of here, from the tail all the way up to the head here. It could be dirty, it could be any number of things, but I'm checking on not Lumen, but the BLF forums. They're helping me out figure that out, and I've been looking through the FW3A troubleshooting thread, since this is pretty much a beefier version of the FW3A or the FW3C. So keep that in mind when you do get a copper light like this. I have read, I don't remember where exactly in the BLF forums, but copper lights tend to have a very low deviation for tolerances in terms of screwing on the head in a certain position and allowing it to connect just perfectly so that you can access the modes and have the light function correctly. So I would say that's a negative, a big negative actually about this light. So keep that in mind if you're looking at buying the copper version of the LM10 from Lumintop. It's definitely a great light for a gift light or a anniversary present or whatnot. And I gotta say, I like the copper a lot more than I thought I would in terms of its feel and quality. I was looking at the stainless, not the stainless steel, but the polished titanium, which is almost sold out everywhere you go. There's a few more left on killzoneflashlights.com, which I just checked recently. I do have a affiliate code that you can use there to get 10% off on the purchases there. It's a US based seller, so you'll be able to get the shipping pretty quickly if you're interested in this light. They also have this in copper there and brass as well. So if you want to get those lights, you can check the description below for the discount code of 10%. I get 5% back as an affiliate. If you want to use the code, that's fine. If not, no big deal. Overall, that's all I have to say about the light. Thank you for watching.